Hi, this is Michael Buffer, and welcome to the BoxHard Podcast.
Hello, everyone. This is Mikey Garcia.
Yo, it's your boy, the odd guy himself, Malik King Scott.
Hi, I'm Charlie Edwards.
This is Fast Eddie Chambers, and you're listening to the BoxHard Podcast with my main man, Joey Coastman.
Hello everybody and welcome to episode 94 of the BoxHard Podcast. I'm your host Joey Coastman. As I've said on last week's show, Ayaz is away in New York, but we're joined this week by another replacement, another man that's been on the show to fill his shoes before, Mr. Eddie Chambers. Eddie, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on.
Not a problem, man. You know, it's never a big issue with you. Just let me know when it's time and I'm there.
Absolutely, my man, absolutely. I know how it is. Right, we're going to start with the review part, same as always. We're going to dive into last week's action. We're going to start with a card that happened over in the Dominican Republic in the Hotel Jaragua. One fight to mention over there, former world champion at light-middleweight, Carlos Molina, 28-6 with 2 draws. This actually happened I think it was last Thursday. He took on an unbeaten pro, a prospect, you know, a decent amateur, a man by the name of Carlos Adamez. He was 11-0. He actually beat Carlos Molina here. I feel very sorry for him. He's a man that I enjoyed having on this show, Carlos Molina. It was a funny one. It was an 11-round unanimous decision win. That was also for the WBA Federatin welterweight title. It was actually at 147 that contest there, and Adamez actually knocked Carlos Molina down in the second round. So unfortunately that could be it for Carlos Molina. I can't really see him carrying on. I know that he's been talking about wanting to become a world champion again. It doesn't look like that's going to happen if he's losing to guys like this, but we don't really know how good this guy is. He's only 11-0 at the moment. As I said, a little bit of a decorated amateur. Could be the real deal. We'll have to wait and see. Right, moving over to last Friday now at the Shanghai Oriental Sports Center over in China. Zhu Shiming, the only fight really to mention on this bill. I believe he's parted ways with Bob Arum. He's doing his own thing now under his own promotional stable. He was 9-1 and he took on Sho Kimura. He was also defending his WBO World Flyweight title. Zhu Shiming was actually knocked out in round 11, so the double Olympic gold medalist picks up another L here. His record now 9-2. He loses his WBO World Flyweight title. Sho Kimura, he went into this fight with a record of 14-1 with 2 draws, now 15-1 with 2 draws. I didn't know anything about him, and even still I don't really know too much about him. I don't really know too much about these lower weights, especially down as low as flyweight, but he got the job done in Zhu Shiming's hometown, and as I say, a knockout in the 11th round. So really shocking stuff there from China. Moving over now to the Bowlers Exhibition Centre in Manchester, Lancashire. Again, not too many fights. We're going to try to whiz through them as quick as possible. Zelfa Flash Barrett on this bill. He moved to 18-0. He picked up a TKO in round 1 against Jordan Ellison, who was 7-10 going in now 7-11. Now Zelfa Barrett's a man I'm quite high on. I think he's really good. He looks really good. He looks like he's gonna be quite promising in the future when we see him stepped up. But I looked at his record and I was shocked. He's 18-0 and 17 of his opponents have had losing records. So somebody told me at the boxing the other day that he really needs to step up, and I said, really, you sure? And I checked out his record, and boy oh boy, he seriously needs to step up now. 18-0, he should really be he should really be taking on better opposition. So yeah, I want to see him step it up, but a good fighter nonetheless. Also on that bill, Reece Cartwright. He was also 17-0. He got in there against a man called Rafael Chiruta, who was 12-39 with 1 draw. Proper journeyman. Well, Chiruta definitely showed up here. He stopped Reece Cartwright in the first round TKO. Cartwright was down from a right hook, and that was all she wrote. So a humongous upset on that bill as well. And Rafael Chiruta now 13-39 with 1 draw. Completely knocks out Reece Cartwright there, 17-1 now, and he's not even a big puncher looking at his record. So Shocking stuff there from the Bowlers Exhibition Centre in Manchester. Moving over now stateside to Tucson, Arizona, USA, the Casino del Sol. One fight really to mention from last week on this bill. Saddam Ali, he picked up win number 25. He's got one loss as well on his resume. It was a 10-round unanimous decision win over Johan Perez. He had a record of 22-3. It's now 22-4. He's also got 2 draws. That one was for the vacant WBA International welterweight title. Now Saddam Ali picks up that strap. Moving over now to another card in the USA, this one over in North Carolina. One fight to mention on this bill, really, the return of Zachary Ochoa. He got stopped in his last fight by that undefeated prospect. Can't remember his name now. It slipped me, but yeah, he returned to the ring. He got stopped in that fight, obviously. He returned here with a win, a 6-round unanimous decision over 6 rounds, at welterweight against a man called Ariel Vasquez, 13-18. So Zachary Ochoa now 17-1. And now moving over to the big one. Last week, the main fight really of the weekend. I know that you was there, Eddie, in attendance at the Barclays Center, Brooklyn, New York, USA. I'm going to move over to the heavyweight clash first. We're going to be speaking to Big Baby Miller shortly in the show as well. I'm going to start with that fight. A former foe of yourself as well, Gerald Washington, took on Big Baby Jarrell Miller. Jarrell Miller 18-0 going in with 1 draw. Gerald Washington 18-1 going in with 1 draw. Obviously, that only loss coming to Deontay Wilder. No real shame in that. What did you make of that fight, Eddie? I know that you was there, of course.
Honestly, I thought it was really interesting contrast in styles. I mean, Gerald, to be fair, very athletic and has obviously a bit of talent, but green in a lot of ways, and underdeveloped in some others. But obviously he's able to get the job done in obviously all these fights, with the exception of the Wilder fight. But he faced a different kind of a situation. A guy nearly 300 pounds, basically 300 pounds, coming forward who can take a pretty good punch, and a big enough puncher. And, even though his punches are fat and, he comes forward and, sometimes takes too many, it's really hard to keep a guy like that, a boulder like that, to get the momentum going forward. It's hard to stop him. And I think that ended up being the case. I think he was just in a situation where, he got some momentum, and Gerald kept going backward. I think that was the biggest issue. Gerald kept going backward, kept trying to move, kept trying to create space, and not standing his ground enough. If he would have stood his ground a little bit more and been a little more comfortable defensively, I honestly think he would have had a much better shot at winning. I saw him buzz Jarrell a couple of times with some good shots and little hooking rights and just different shots in general like that. But he obviously recovered, and like I said, he's a big guy, so he was able to weather the storm and just kept coming and kept coming. And by the time the end of the fight came, it was just he was completely exhausted. And to be honest, I've seen Gerald fight, and I fought Gerald, and he starts to lose that fire and that intensity, and to be quite honest, that energy as the fight wears on. And with this fight, if you were looking to pick a winner, if you were to say, okay, well, if he gets to the second half of the fight, if Jarrell Miller was able to get to the second half of the fight and he's pressuring him enough, he'd have a shot at winning. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, for those that didn't know, it was scheduled for 10 rounds, but in round 8, Gerald Washington's corner pulled him out the fight. Now, what I actually saw of this fight, it was actually shown on Box Nation over here. Now, for me, I think that Gerald, as you said a little bit as well, Eddie, Gerald, and I've never seen him use the jab so effectively as he did in that Wilder fight. He shocked me in that fight. He's got a brilliant jab. Right, I don't care what anybody says. And when he got in that ring with Jarrell Miller, he just did not... I mean, he threw the jab out a few times, but we didn't see it. He was sitting in the pocket way too much. Jarrell was a lot bigger, a lot physically, stronger. He just kept pushing him back towards the ropes, and there was too much fighting on the inside for Gerald Washington. I think in some ways he got a little bit exposed. I don't think he fights well on the inside like that. And even you, Eddie, you had him when things were up close and personal, and he wasn't throwing the jab out. You had your way with him a little bit as well. So I think on the inside he's got there's a bit of trouble there for him.
Right. Well, with him, like I said, this is where that underdevelopment shows. You know what I mean? As a fighter who's come into the sport late, there's a lot of times you see these guys that take up the sport late, and they're athletic and they're talented, and they win fights, especially in heavyweight division. It's a little easier because of the size differences. You can kind of get away with it. But when you get a guy who's nearly your size but has that development for a longer period of time and understands, how to adapt to certain things and to do different things and pose a different problem. If you don't have that development, like Gerald doesn't really have it, so he doesn't quite understand how to stand inside and defend and slide in certain ways, and maybe even use his height. Even though they say when you're close as a tall guy, you're a big target. But if you look at Riddick Bowe's one of the best inside fighters of that generation, as well as fighting that range, and he's 6'5", 6'6", So it's not to say that you can't be a good inside fighter as a big guy and also well-versed defensively. And I think that's his biggest issue. He wasn't comfortable defensively. Everything was stiff on the inside. He was able to land some shots, but obviously that's going to happen when you got a big target like Jarrell Miller coming forward. And he was expected to take those shots. I feel like he expected to take a beating to get in, but once he got in, they deliver one, and that's exactly what happened. And Joe just couldn't sustain any enough offense to keep him at bay. And that turned out to be the difference.
Yeah, it was a shame for Gerald Washington because I'm a fan of his. He's a friend of the show, and
real good guy.
Yeah, I was a bit upset for him, but on the other hand, I do also have a bit of love for Big Baby Miller, who, as I said, will be joining us very shortly. So Big Baby Miller moved to 19-0. He's got one draw. Gerald Washington now 18-2 with one draw, 2 losses on the bounce for him. Also on that bill, Katie Taylor, our very own, well, Ireland's very own, I should say. We've got a bit of claim to her for Eddie Hearn. She moved to 6-0. Her opponent was pulled out of of her fight by her corner in round 3. She had a losing record, but yeah, Katie Taylor really gets a little bit of a taste of what it's like to fight over in the States. A fight that wasn't shown on TV, Eddie, but I'm not sure if you caught it being there. Did you get to see the Billy Dib fight at all?
No, I didn't get a chance to see the Billy Dib fight. By the time we got there, we even missed the Katie Taylor fight, and I was like, damn, I was expecting to see it. I heard him announce Gerald and Jarrell. I'm like, dang, these guys are already in the ring. I mean, we got there. I thought we got there early enough in the card, but I guess we didn't. It was, it was moving pretty fast.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's fine. Yeah, Billy Dib 42-4 took on Yardley Suarez 22-8. Well, I've heard a little bit from Billy Dib, obviously being a friend of the show and all the rest, but Billy Dib basically says that he opened up a cut on Yardley Suarez. I think it must have been some sort of accidental head clash or whatever, because in the third round it went down as a no contest, but he's really quite annoyed at Yardley Suarez because he believes the cut was, it wasn't really nothing to stop a fight on, at least. So he believes the guy really just wanted a way out and kind of used a bit of experience to get himself out of that fight. So he's a bit annoyed with that, Billy Dib. But it takes a bit of a shine off the whole, fighting in the US, linking up with Robert Garcia, etc. So, I feel for him a little bit, but his record remains 42-4, and Yardley Suarez 22-8. That record remains also on the bill. You may have seen this one, Eddie. I'm not too sure how the scheduling went over there, as I think it was a little bit different in the UK. Rashay Warren 14-2 took on Joe Arroyo 17-1. Did you happen to see that one? You probably didn't.
No, I don't think I've seen that. Yeah, a lot of those fights, man, they happened right before I got in.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
I really wanted to see it's funny. I really wanted to see Katie Taylor fight. That's crazy, but I wanted to see that amongst a few of the others. But I wanted to see that for sure.
Yeah, no worries. But no, Rashay Warren, from what I've heard, I think he shut out Joe Arroyo, so a bit of an impressive performance there. Can't really see the scorecards, but it was a unanimous decision over 12 rounds for Rashay Warren. Also on the bill, Jamal Charlo, 25-0, took on Jorge Sebastian Hayland. Now, Hayland's a man that, he's probably had his better days behind him, and I said that on last week's show, but for me, I thought that Jamal Charlo was going to win by knockout. I was excited to see him at middleweight. However, straight away, and they said it on commentary pretty much as soon as I saw it, Eddie, I'm sure you must have seen it again, being up close.
Yeah.
It was clearly an injury with Hayland, man. I don't know what happened there. It seemed like he just couldn't turn down the payday.
Yeah. I looked, honestly, watching it, I thought it was something up with his head as well. You know, to be honest, I mean, you could see that he was really, really, really stiff with one of. I don't know if it was the right or the left leg. I'm not sure. Might have been the lead foot. I'm not 100%.
No, I think it was his back leg. I think it was his back leg.
It was the back. Okay, yeah. He couldn't really couldn't really stand sturdy. You know what I mean? He was stiff-legged, and he had a hard time even when he was sitting on the stool, you know, in the corner in between rounds. It just looked bad. Like, I'm sitting there, like, this guy shouldn't even be fighting. And I said that, but, you know, nobody was really paying attention. Nobody really, really thought of anything. They just like, look at that. Oh, Jermall Charlo looks great, and he's doing this, and he's doing that. I'm like, yeah. And I'm pretty sure whether this guy was 100% or not, probably Charlo would have stopped him. There's no question. But the way he was able to, the way he was trying to, labor to get around the ring, stiff legs, basically like he was, staggering already. It was just, not a good time to take that fight. I understand you don't want to turn on a payday, but your health is more important. And I think, I'm going to say an error in judgment, but he definitely could have sat this one out for sure.
Yeah, Jermall Charlo, straight away when you could see that there was something wrong there, it was clear it was kind of clear to see what was going to happen. I fancied him by knockout, but I forgot. I looked at Highland's record, can't remember how you pronounce his name. I looked at his record. He'd never been stopped prior to this fight. So when I saw that, I thought, maybe he will end up lasting the distance, because we hadn't seen, obviously, Charlo at 160. But no, with the injury, right. I think he did well, really, to go to the fourth round. He was obviously down in round 2, managed to get up and get through that round, also round 3 as well. I was actually watching it on stream. It was funny because I had it on the TV, and then it was raining so bad that my TV aerial completely messed up. I had to watch it on the laptop. Then the TV came back on, and then the fight was over. It was a bit mad, but I saw the finish. It was one of those nights. But Jermall Charlo 26-0 now. Again, we want to see him in a test where a guy's actually got 2 legs. But no, people were bashing him on Twitter. It's completely not his fault whatsoever. It's not his fault at all. So I feel a bit sorry for him, some of the things that people are saying about him. And the main event, of course, Mikey Garcia 36-0 going in against Adrian the Problem Broner 33-2. What a fantastic fight, by the way, on paper going in. What a fantastic fight. For me, some people said it got a little bit boring. I really enjoyed it. What was your take on it, Eddie?
I don't see necessarily it being boring, at all. Really at any point. I mean, it may be a little bit one-sided for the most part, as the fight wore on. In the early rounds, obviously, Adrian with this, he had the flashy stuff going, speed. He's doing a few things like the first round, I'm going to say. He might have had Mikey on the back, just waiting a little bit just to see what he really had. And then all of a sudden, Mikey Garcia just comes in and starts to dominate. He throws some combination. And really, to me, as the fight went on, he became more in control and more dominant. And it was more so the timing than the speed, because I feel like Adrian probably was a little bit faster, a little bit more, a little flashier with the style and a little more skillful, in a flashy way. Like, he can do some really, really nice things, if he can be focused. But I think when he saw that Mikey wasn't going anywhere and that he kept that razor-sharp focus and determination, and he has really, really, really good, like he mentioned it in the post-fight interview, he has really good, real good eye for timing. You know what I mean? So he was able to really cause a lot of issues for Adrian Broner to really feel out the range. You know what I'm saying? He was missing on some of those shots that you would have thought that he would have been able to land. You know what I mean? With the speed advantage, but he was able to catch a mid punch sometime. Counter punch him well. Then Adrian, I think his plan as the fight wore on was a little bit foolish in a sense, because then once you give a guy who's coming forward and is good timing and good at range and things like that, and you continue to go backwards, eventually you're going to back yourself into a corner or to the ropes. And that's just going to give him the opportunity to hit you where you can't move. You understand what I'm saying? He's able to cut you off. He's able to corner you. There's really not a lot you can do but either cover up or try to slip, and that's wasting a lot of energy defensively when you really don't have to. You know what I'm saying? If he would have started to try to walk him down a little earlier, Adrian Broner, as he did, late in the fight, like the last few rounds, I feel like he would have more success doing that as opposed to trying to move and box from the outside. I just feel like he gave Mikey too many opportunities to throw combinations. and going backwards and gave him more momentum. And I think at the end of the day, that's what turned out to be the biggest difference. And I felt like what I thought was like a pretty dominating performance by Mike Garcia.
Yeah, I remember actually when the fight, first got announced. I think it was Eddie. I think you did the show with me, and we gave our predictions, and we both predicted Mikey to win. And I really thought that he would win on points. I mean, I actually, I predicted that. I even put a little bet on that. I didn't see him being able to stop Broner, to be honest. I thought that it was always going to be points. I actually scored the fight, so I want to just read out my scorecard. The first round I thought was really, really even. I actually gave it a 10-10 round. I think it was a share, really. For the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rounds, I gave all to Garcia. And then I gave the 9 and 10th to Broner, the 11th to Garcia, and then the 12th to Broner. So I've been a little bit lenient there to Broner. Some people saying, he shouldn't have even got that. But I gave it, all in all, it was 117 to 112 in favour of Garcia. So I basically gave Broner 3 rounds and a share of a fourth. So but my take on the fight, really and truly, I think obviously this was such a great win for Garcia because he finally gets that standout beautiful name on his resume. The way he beat him was just unbelievable, really dominating. And it was funny at the end of the fight when Adrian Broner got interviewed, and it was a horrible interview, by the way. He really showed that really sort of that side to him that's just so hard to like. And he said he actually said it was like cat and mouse, like as if he was trying to chase Mikey around the ring. I don't know what fight he was watching because it was the complete other way round. And Mikey was just, as you say, Broner was backing up all the time. When he did come forward and let his hands go in some of the later parts of the fight, he looked good doing it, but I just don't think he... I don't know what it was. I don't want to say his head wasn't in it because I think Mikey was so switched on. Maybe that long layoff, maybe it played a little bit of a part in the later rounds where he may have slowed down a little bit. But those first few rounds, those first sort of 6, 7, 8 rounds, Mikey was just punch perfect. Didn't make any mistakes. So switched on. He's a sensational fighter. And as you even said as well before, Eddie, really and truly, he's a top 5 pound for pound fighter. I remember you saying that last time. He really is. So I feel I feel very happy for Garcia because he finally gets that marquee name. But it's very important. His next few fights from here need to be big ones as well. And I think he's in a brilliant position now to call some shots. Even if we're not too sure. He's talking about perhaps going up to welterweight. We're talking about sticking at 140, perhaps going back down to 135, and, getting in some kind of unification. He's still a champ, down at that weight. So, his options are very wide. And his options are very slim, to be completely honest. I'm not too sure where he goes. But no, I just thought Mikey was unbelievable. Just held the centre of the ring for the whole fight, backed him up. He was just unbelievable. I can't praise him enough, to be honest. Go on.
Yeah, I agree. No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say No, it's cool. I was just going to say anything else that we're going to add to that card at all before we wrap that one up.
Honestly, it's like you said. I feel like he really showed out and proved that he belongs in the pound for pound conversation for sure. The layoff he had obviously hurt him. You know what I mean? You get out of the eye of the public, and it's kind of hard to keep to be relevant in that kind of a situation. I can tell you that personally from experience. So it's a little rough on him, but coming back with the performance he's come back with and beating Broner the way he did, handling and in control and focused, and not really letting anything take away that focus. You gotta say he's definitely going to be a rival for anyone out there. It's going to be a tough fight for anybody. So it's good. He's got a bright future and a huge upside in his career, and can basically go any which way he wants.
Absolutely, I totally agree with that. So we're going to leave that card there. Moving over to the last card of last weekend. This happened last Sunday in the state of California, USA. One fight really to mention: Victor Ortiz, 31-6 with 2 draws, moved to 32 wins. He took on Saul Corral, who was 25-9, now 25-10. Victor Ortiz got the win. A KO in round 4 for him. Corral was deducted a point in round 3 for holding. Coral was obviously down in that fourth round, and I think he was stopped on his feet. Every single fight Victor Ortiz is in, it always is pretty much exciting, whether he's gonna turn up or not. Sometimes he gets knocked out, he knocks people down, he may quit. It's always very exciting when Victor Ortiz is near a ring. And that really wraps up the reviewing part of the show. That's all from last weekend. It's now time to welcome a man that was part of the fights last weekend in the heavyweight scene as well. It just fits the show perfectly. It's now time to welcome guest number one. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the undefeated heavyweight contender. I think last time he was on, I called him a prospect. Now I consider him a contender for sure. Mr. Jarrell Big Baby Miller. Jarrell, welcome to the show.
What's up, man? Thanks for having me again.
Hey, it's always my pleasure, Jarrell. You know that. So, Jarrell, you took on Gerald Washington on the undercard of Broner versus Garcia on Saturday night. Firstly, however, I want to touch on and I want to mention the weigh-in. The day before the fight, you obviously weighed in at 298 pounds. It was the biggest fight of your career, and you weighed in your career heaviest. And I said it on last week's podcast. I said that it would be interesting to see what weight you came in at. And I was hoping you didn't come in too heavy. And when I saw what you weighed, I honestly thought you'd shot yourself in the foot, so to speak. But I was so wrong. So, Jarrell, firstly, why did you end up weighing that much?
Like I said before, everybody's built differently. When I told people I lost 30 pounds, they thought I was going to come in like 270 or something. But I started training camp about 330, and it was heavy, man. I was heavy. I was powerlifting, eating a lot of heavy carbs and starches. And I had to stop all my weight training for about 2 months, a month and a half to really get this weight down really fast. And monitor my energy levels, and it was tough. It was definitely tough. So, main thing we worked on was punch output and cardio for this fight. And I could have went the full 10 rounds, no problem. But I already knew that once I put the pressure on him, I was gonna fold him. And that's what it really came down to. I was really aiming for about 285, 280. But I got sick about 2.5 weeks out from the fight. I had salmonella poisoning. And then I had like a crazy ear infection a couple of days after that. It was a tough camp. It was nowhere near easy. I said my main thing was being mentally focused and ready to go to war.
And obviously, again, coming in at a weight like that, it'd be quite clear. It's quite an obvious thing that usually you'd tire down the stretch of that fight, obviously carrying that weight. But I will say this, I've got to also throw in there that I've always thought Gerald, as much as I like the guy, I don't really think he's got the best stamina. I think he tires quite rapidly after about 4 or 5 rounds. So you seem to come on stronger. Correct. I just thought that was an interesting point there. And Gerald, in my opinion, played into your hands in this fight by staying in the pocket too long. He's got a good jab when he uses it. He stayed on the ropes for too long there, and there was one point in the fight, and Gerald's a big guy, but when he tried to push you back, I remember he just put his glove on your chest and tried to push you. You just stood still like a statue. What did you make of the whole fight, Jarrell, and did it go the way you expected it to?
It went exactly the way that I expected it to go. Like I told people, I had him hurt in the 3rd round, and he said he was going to bring it to me. So I said if he brought the fight to me, I'd get him in 3 or 4 rounds. But if I had to go chase him and get him, it'd be 7 and 8, and I got him in 8 rounds. I told people, man, like I'm a big guy, I'm a behemoth, but I'm a thinker as well. I see shots. I took a couple just to break his confidence a little bit, and I dropped my hands now and then, slip his jab, and hit him with a bunch of jabs as well. Like I said, it was more of a fun fight for me. I got some really good rounds in that I really needed, because the fight before that I only had 3 rounds and 11-month layoff. So there was a lot of things that I wanted to do in this fight, and I got it out the way. I'm right back in the gym again. I started hitting weights yesterday. So, I am nowhere in hell going to be over 300 pounds again. But my main thing right now is to be, 100% big baby, and just, demolish everything. Demolish everything. Every person I want to get in there with, I want to demolish them. I want to make everybody quit, run, hide, jump over a fence, call the police, run to their grandmother's house, hide them in the bed, because I'm coming and I'm here.
In your opinion, Jarrell, can Gerald come back from these 2 losses back-to-back now, albeit one of them, of course, was at world title level, one of them was to you, who could go on to become a world champion, of course, so you don't really know how bad these losses are.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, I'm definitely going to be a world champion, hands down. I ain't worried about that. I think he definitely can bounce back, but he has to get, pick easier opponents to just help build not only his confidence, but get his skill level. Spar guys that are just killers and monsters. He can't spar some of the timid guys that he's been sparring. Guys that kind of run and throw punches to keep you off, like Charles Martin and Malik Scott, some of the other guys. He got to spar guys that kind of want to bring it and really try to hurt you in sparring sessions. And that's the only way that's going to make you really grow. I spar with Olympic champions, and they start off good for about 2-3 rounds, and then after I put the pressure and I start really whooping their ass, they understand that, amateur experience is a lot different from pros. It's a big difference. And, and I tell guys all the time, never judge a book by its cover, and I made that mistake one time in the amateur. I almost got my ass whooped. But as I got older, I realized that I was the same kid. I was the same book that people were judging as well. And I said, that's going to be their downfall. They're going to look at me and say, he's a big guy, he can't do this. But where is there a handbook on boxing physique? Where is there a handbook that says a 300-pound guy can't do a 40-yard sprint in 4 seconds? Like, where does it say it cannot be done? Is what I'm trying to say. So when they tell you can't do something, you just got to prove them wrong. And I'm clearly proof in the pudding that, a 300-pound guy has the highest punch output in the heavyweight division at 70 punches around right now. Like I do drills where I'm throwing 300, 400, 500 punches around, literally, and I'm not even BSing you. We have videos of that we're going to start putting up soon. So, like I said, I'm 300 pounds now, look what I'm doing. So imagine when I get to 275, 280, solid, really ripped and lean, and, with a really full 8-week training camp instead of 6.5 weeks. It's going to be phenomenal. It's going to be great. And I can't wait.
Yeah, I can't wait either. I'm really looking forward to that. Now, you're ranked highly with the governing bodies. You're ranked number 7 in the WBA, WBO and IBF rankings. You're currently unranked with the WBC, but Gerald was ranked, so I suppose we'll see you creep into those rankings soon enough. At this stage, Jarrell, do you know what's next for you?
Yeah, I've heard talk. I had talked to Showtime before the Gerald Washington fight. I have Big Baby Promotions now. We're going to hear a lot more about my own promotional company, a lot more as time go on. Like I said, I'm my own boss. I make my own decisions. I do what I want, when I want, where I want. We had conversations before, Gerard, he's the one that, he called me out for the fight. We needed a good opponent. We needed a opponent, and it didn't have to be that kind of opponent. But I said the opportunity was huge. It's in Brooklyn. It's in my backyard. It is my comeback fight. I mean, the publicity for the fight would be awesome. Even though it wasn't televised, it got a lot of exposure for not being a televised fight. Gerald Washington didn't have TV in his contract, and they weren't able to put it on TV. But because I took that fight, it got a certain amount of exposure that, a lot of people would hate that it didn't get TV. So I kind of proved the point and where I stand not only in the fight but as an entertainer as well. And no other heavyweight is doing what I'm doing. A lot of other guys that's in the boxing world saying this guy's going to be the next big star when it comes to this marketing, publicity, and boxing all the way around. So like I've been dreaming about this. I've been putting my work in and outside the ring, and it's time to start pushing even harder and reap the benefits and showing people that when you have a real heavyweight that can do everything, not just fight, but has the charismatic attitude that I do, and the people just love him, and that's me.
Just to backtrack there, did you say that fight was not televised in the US, no?
No, the fight did not go televised live, man. It was actually Facebook live feed, and it was a Showtime YouTube live feed. It was a lot of things that was going on that Showtime really tried their best to do, depending on the time slot. But like I said, I was a last minute add on to the card, and they had prior engagements they had to that they're obligated to, and they couldn't get the TV time that they wanted. But like I said before, it made me work even harder. It made me even put on a better show, because I know for sure now they're going to want to put every Big Baby fight on TV.
Yeah, because maybe you didn't know this, but I'm going to tell you now. It was live over here. It was on Box Nation over here, so I watched it live. So, yeah, it's a good thing it was shown over here. All the listeners would have watched it live, I'm sure. So, yeah, brilliant anyway. So, will you fight again before the year's up?
Yeah, we're looking at fighting November 4th on Deontay Wilder's the undercard of the co-main event. You know, that's what we were talking about before, so that's probably the date we're going to come back. I've also heard something in the pipeline about August 26th on the Mayweather undercard. If they find the right opponent, we'll see. So, you know, there's a lot of things going on, man. You know, maybe I just fight again August 26th. I'm still in shape. I haven't ate too many burgers, so, you know, it ain't nothing to do 3 weeks of cardio to get back in and whoop somebody's ass again.
And what did you make of the main event? What's your reaction to Garcia versus Broner?
Yeah, I was very sad. It kind of hurt because, you know, Garcia won the fight. You know, I mean, you know, hats off to him. But, you know, Adrian, I felt that he just mentally just wasn't there. You know what I mean? I feel like all the issues that he has outside the ring right now are hindering his performance. Rather be the shootouts and, you know, have to leave his own state to go somewhere else, and the altercations with law enforcement. I feel like he needs to just, you know, get all that stuff situated and put himself in a frame of mind where he's at peace. You know, some people can function under drama. You know, Floyd Mayweather is one of those guys where he had a lot going on, but he still can function in the ring and focus on what he's done. And like myself too, you know what I mean? I have a lot going on in New York. Like, New York, by any means, is not the best place to train and do camp, but there was so much going on in my life personally that I couldn't leave New York at the time, you know. But at the end of the day, you know, when you get in that ring, you guys that say buckle down and, you know, bite onto your mouthpiece and just get the job done.
And on the back of your fight, as I said, it was televised on the UK, in the UK. A lot of people watched it over here. I'm not sure what the word is over in the USA, but over here, everybody that's talking about your performance is saying we need to see you in the ring with Dillian Whyte. We think stylistically that's a fantastic matchup. What's your thought on that fight if it does happen?
Yeah, most definitely. I'm gonna be vocal about the whole Dillian Whyte situation real soon. Like I said before, I'm just working on some stuff on the business side, and I'm still calling his punk ass out because he don't like people don't understand. They seen that fight and they think I'm just a straight slugger. And if you don't know, I can box my ass off, and I haven't really had the opportunity to really box guys yet because some of them are just so soft that I don't really have to box them. I can just walk them down for a couple rounds and beat them up, you know. So, Dillian Whyte will be a good fight, but I guarantee you I would knock him out in 4 to 5 rounds. Guarantee you I would knock Dillian Whyte out in 4 or 5 rounds. And Eddie Hearn's not going to put me in there so quick with Dillian Whyte. I know for a fact Eddie Hearn probably think I was so big, but trust me, he knows I'm a friggin' 10. And I will break Dillian Whyte in half. You know what I mean? And tell you the truth, he lost to Chisora. So what he need to do is really go beat Chisora ass before he start calling out an undefeated contender when he got 2 losses on his record, really, instead of 1. You know, Anthony Joshua knocked him out so bad that he lost brain cells and forgot to add that loss on his record. So, trust me, messing with me, I might make him brain dead, and I'm really going to snatch a body part off the body snatcher.
And Jarrell, obviously, he's going to be fighting, Dillian Whyte's going to be fighting on the Terence Crawford undercard in just a couple of weeks over in your, well, not your hometown, obviously, but over in the US. Unfortunately, it's a little bit soon for yourself, but it would have been really good if that was to have happened, man, but it's a bit too soon.
Yeah. Well, you know, I think me and Dillian Whyte could do our own card. It's not a co-main event. We could be a main event for our fight in the States. You know? I don't even think we need a header for that fight. The way how we would go down in the press conference and the weigh-ins and all that great stuff.
Moving on from that anyway, just the last two questions or so now. Jarrell, I want to get your thoughts on the big middleweight clash in September, Canelo versus Triple G. Everybody we speak to, I've got to get their prediction on this fight. What's your thoughts on it?
Oh, man, I definitely don't see the fight going to decision. You know, I'm a big Triple G fan, but you know they did rob my boy Danny Jacobs against that fight in Brooklyn. So I kind of want to see Canelo catch him a little bit, but I'm kind of I don't know. For that fight, I'm really kind of stuck in the middle. But Triple G is the bigger guy, and height wise, I feel like he's fought the harder, tougher opponents. But he's still an older guy, and he does have a little more mileage on him compared to Canelo. I mean, we'll see. You know, I don't really have a favorite in this fight. I do one thing though, is going to be a barn burner, and somebody's definitely going to get hit with some shit.
Absolutely. It's a fight we're all looking forward to. That's one thing that we all agree on. And just before I let you go, Jarrell, anything you want to say at all before we let you go? Anything at all you want to get off your chest? Anything at all? Do your research on these fighters, man. Don't be quick to jump on the bandwagon and criticize fighters. Jarrell was a tough guy. Washington, he came to fight. I take my hats off to him. So, let's be easy on some of us, man. Sometimes a lot of guys, sometimes we win, sometimes we lose, man. It's a tough sport, it's a tough life. So, as fans, man, just give me respect and love. But I tell you one thing, if you love Mike, you love Riddick, you're going to love Big Baby. And Dillian Whyte, I'm going to break your rib. Okay. Mellow message followed by something a little bit harsh there for Dillian. All right, listen, Jarrell, it's always a pleasure speaking with you. You know that. Congrats once again on your win, and we'll catch up again very soon.
No problem, brother. Thank you.
Okay, now it's time for part 2 on this week's show. This part, of course, the preview part of the show. We're going to start with a card happening this week in the Fantasy Springs Casino in Indio, California. So many fights gone on in the state of California in the last 7 days or so. So, big up to California. On this bill, Vachislav Shabransky, 18-1, takes on a man called Todd May. I don't know anything about him, but he's 10-0 with 1 draw. I thought I'd mention that. Jonathan Navarro also on this bill. His record 10-0. He's in an 8-rounder against Angel Sarinana, 7-6. Should be a decent win. I'm hoping for Jonathan Navarro. It'd be a bit of a slip if he lost that one. And also the main reason we're mentioning this bill, Mauricio Herrera, 23-7. He's in a 10-rounder at welterweight against Jesus Soto Carras, who is 28-11 with 4 draws. We're going to stand behind Mauricio Herrera here. He's a friend of the show. I think he was one of the first world champions we've had on the show, actually. So it's been a while, actually, since I spoke to him, so we must reach out to him in the near future. That's it for California. Moving over now to the MGM Grand in Detroit, Michigan, USA. One fight to mention on this bill, Nikki Adler, 16-0. She's the WBC World Female Super Middleweight Champion. She's in a 10-round contest. That's, of course, 10 2-minute rounds against America's very own Golden Girl, Clarissa Shields, 3-0. Both girls undefeated. Obviously, it's a huge step up in class in the pro ranks for Clarissa Shields. Also, the vacant IBF World Female Super Middleweight titles on the line as well. So this is Clarissa Shields' chance to win 2 belts in one fight here and seriously, stamp her mark on the pro boxing ranks, really. And this is a little, I know that you said earlier as well, Eddie, that you were looking forward to Katie Taylor, her and Eddie Hearn and all the rest of the girls in the sport, really, that are just turning over. These Olympians need to take note from this. This is a huge step up. Only Clarissa's 4th fight in the pro ranks and already 2 world titles on the line for her. I'm not her biggest fan, though, to be completely honest, Eddie. I don't really like her personality, so... But no, we're both obviously really happy she's stepping up really quickly.
Right. I think she's pretty talented. You know what I mean? I don't know about the personality thing. I really didn't pay much attention to that. I'm looking more at her fight game. She seemed likable, in the Olympics and everything, but I'm not too sure. Now I haven't really been paying attention much. But if your fight game is doing the talking and it's talking really loud and well, then that's more important than how unlikable you are outside the ring, even though sometimes that draws big dollars. Floyd could probably tell you that.
Yeah, of course. She's... I'm not quite so sure it works just as much in the female side of the game than it does the male side of the game. But, some of her unsavoury tweets we'll ignore. She's obviously a tremendous fighter, especially a flag bearer, really, in terms of women's boxing as a whole, pro and amateur. But we're going to leave America alone. We're going to move over now to India. One fight to mention over there, Frank Warren prospect Vijender Singh, 8-0. He takes on, this is going to be a challenge, a man by the name of Zulipker Maimtiali, 8-0. So both men 8-0. Somebody's always got to go. The opponent's actually got 1 blemish on his record. It's just a draw. This one's also for the WBO Asia Pacific Super Middleweight title and the WBO Oriental Super Middleweight title. Both belts, if I'm not actually mistaken, I think they may belong to Vijender Singh, so it could be a defence of his titles here, but it's in his hometown of India. He's actually quite talented, this guy, Eddie. You probably haven't heard of him, but he's like a policeman, a Bollywood actor. He's now a boxer. He's done it all. He's like a hero over in India. So all the very best to him. All the very best to him. Moving over now to the States once again. One fight, or a couple fights to mention really on this bill. Coming down to the last two bills now. Raimundo Beltran, 33-7 with one draw, putting his belts on the line here. The NABF lightweight title and the WBO NABO lightweight title on the line against Brian Vasquez, 35-2. Should be a good fight there. Raimundo Beltran been looking pretty good recently. I know he's had some stuff going on outside the ring. Last time he was fighting for his green card, if I'm not mistaken. So all they've got to do is wave that at him, and I'm sure he'll pick up another knockout. He fought really well when that was all on the line last time. And the main event in that card, Vasyl Lomachenko, 8-1, puts his WBO World Super Featherweight title on the line. By the way, this one's at the Microsoft Theater in Los Angeles, California. Once again, more fights for California. He takes on Miguel Mariaga, 25-2. These guys are both super featherweights. Eddie, have you got any interest in that fight, Lomachenko Mariaga? Do you know much about those weights down there?
Well, I definitely could tell you Lomachenko. He's one of the top guys out there right now. Very, very, very talented. Very exciting to watch. Aside from just the activity and the punches and all that, it's the skill in which he delivers it. You know what I mean? I feel like he's a really, really, really talented guy. One of the better guys you'll see is you see different things. Like I've seen different memes and different videos they put out on this kid, talking about Matrix and all that. Well, he's really, really good at making the basics look, extra. You know what I mean? It looks like he's doing more than some basic things, but he's really talented in making it work. Angles are perfect. And if you look at Gary Russell, who's the guy that he beat, Gary Russell to me is one of the most talented guys in that division, or in the division that he previously was in. I'm not sure if that's the case. But he beat him pretty easily. You know what I'm saying? Like, he controlled the fight, dominated the fight. And it's crazy because Gary Russell is one of the most talented guys you'll see. Speed, power, ability, all of that just oozing out of that kid. And then Lomachenko makes him look average. That's the kind of guy this is. He's a really, really exciting guy to watch going forward. I don't think there's going to be many guys that could challenge him, although I would love to see him against Guillermo Rigondeaux. That would be awesome to see, because those two guys are both extremely high levels of talent, maybe even not the highest level in boxing today. And I don't want to say including Floyd Mayweather, but they're right there with him. And I know that's saying a lot, but these guys are right there.
Yeah, I totally agree. This guy, Miguel Mariaga, he got beat by Oscar Valdez, which is, there's no shame in that. But I think some people are a bit annoyed with this fight because I think they think it's going to be pretty one-sided. Hopefully, the one thing about Mariaga is he can bang, so hopefully we see him land a couple of shots on Lomachenko. But yeah, Lomachenko is very talented. As you say, he does the basics tremendously well, makes it look easy, unbelievable hand speed, unbelievable footwork. He's got it all. I've even seen him walk from one corner to the other corner on his knuckles in some kind of handstand thing. And I also saw him the other day shadow boxing on a skateboard. He can do it all, mate. He can do it all. Right,
yeah, that's telling you something. That's telling you something about his time he spent in the gym. But go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Joe.
That's cool. Yeah, that's it for California. Moving over now to the card that is happening, the final bill to mention. One fight that's happening over in New Jersey, USA, at the Claridge Hotel and Casino. One fight to mention on this bill, really, a man that's kind of gone under the radar a little bit. China's very own Zhilei Zhang. He's 16-0. He's 6'6". He's a southpaw, obviously undefeated. He's an Olympian as well. He takes on a man called Nick Guivas, who, if I'm not mistaken, was knocked out. I think he was knocked out by BJ Flores. So Yeah, I think it could be a little bit one-sided there in favour of the Chinaman. Right, that's it for the previewing. Now, usually we do the news in the middle of the show. There's just a couple of bits of news I just want to quickly mention. Two little pieces of news before we wrap up the show, wrap up the talking, I should say, and bring in the second and final guest. Ryan Burnett, the IBF World Bantamweight Champion, he will be unifying his title against Zanat Zakhayanov, the WBA Super World Bantamweight Champion. That fight is going to be taking place in the SSE Arena in Belfast, Northern Ireland, on the 21st of October. So it's great to see Ryan Burnett in his first fight since being champion. You'd think he might take an easy defence. Boy, oh boy, he's taking on a man that's, a champion. He's taking on a guy that is going to be unifying with, and this is actually the man that beat Roche Warren in his last fight, which was earlier this year in February. So this man's got a win over Roche Warren, who we mentioned earlier. Now he's going to be taking on Ryan Burnett. So that's a really great fight. I'm happy that Eddie Hearn has made that one. Zakhayanov's record is 27-1. He's from Kazakhstan, and Ryan Burnett 17-0. So I'm really looking forward to that. And also the kind of circus fight, I guess. We haven't really mentioned it too much on this podcast because, we're proper boxing people. We don't really like to talk too much about these mismatches. But Floyd Mayweather and Conor McGregor, that fight obviously taking place in about 3 weeks' time at the end of this week. That will be taking place on Sky Sports box office over here. So Sky have outbidded BT Sports and Box Nation for that fight. And it will be shown on box office at a price of $19.95. So it's up to the UK fans if they're going to buy that, if they're going to pay that price. But the price is a lot better than the price over in the US, Eddie. I'm sure about that.
No, yeah, absolutely. I think it's probably going to be upwards near $100, to be honest, or something like that. Like, something crazy. Like for the Pacquiao fight, I think that's what it was. It's like you just look at it and say, man. I mean, the Pacquiao fight I can understand. This one, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it won't be that expensive. Maybe $60, but anywhere above that point is a little bit too rich for me at this point, man. I want to see proper fights, like you said. And no disrespect, I mean, I think Floyd Mayweather was great, obviously the greatest of our era, and Conor McGregor is probably one of the greatest of our era in MMA. But he's not a boxer, and he's coming from basically being an amateur fighter to fighting the best professional fighter of this generation. It just doesn't make sense. But hey, whatever. Whatever sells.
Whatever sells. That seems to be the case. Obviously, we all know the old saying, boxing is a business. Right.
Yeah.
That will conclude all the talking. Just before we bring in guest number 2, I just want to, do the usual. Eddie's obviously got somewhere to be, so I want to thank you very much, Eddie, for obviously taking part in this week's show. It's about the 3rd or 4th time. It's always great sharing the whole show with you. You always come on. Don't just do a little piece. You're here for the whole duration. So once again, thank you very much for taking part in this week's show, my friend.
No problem, man. You're my main man. All you got to do is ask. And even sometimes you don't have to do that. I might just pop up like, hey, you don't need me to show this week? No. But, no, it's great, man. I enjoy it. I like to talk, so why not?
Excellent. Thank you very much, Eddie. Right, before we wrap up the show, there's one last thing to do, and that, of course, is to bring in guest number 2. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the former Commonwealth and WBO European champion and current British champion, Mr. Liam Williams. Liam, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, mate. Appreciate that.
Hey, it's always my pleasure, Liam, especially with you. So listen, last time we spoke, it was just before your last fight for the interim WBO world title against Liam Smith. Now, I'm going to be honest, and I'm not saying this just because you're here. I actually had you winning that fight, but I thought Liam Smith was coming on strong, but I still had you winning at the time of the stoppage. Now, there were so many things wrong with that fight. One of the most damning things in the aftermath was the fact that because Liam Smith didn't make the weight, if he would have won, which he ended up doing, he would have probably been elevated to the full WBO world champion by now. And because he didn't, Miguel Cotto's obviously now fighting for the vacant title. He shot himself in the foot a bit on that one. Do you want to say anything about that brilliant fight before it ended the way nobody wanted it to? Do you want to say anything about that fight just before we move on, Liam?
No. Only that I believe you give a pretty good assessment. It was like I believe those quite a couple of them more than what judges actually had it. yeah, you know, he's coming on strongly. He always does. He's that type of come forward fighter, wear people down. But we prepared for that. So you know, it was never a massive shock for us.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Now, myself and you, we both spoke at the Copper Box show a few weeks ago, and you said that the rematch was looking like being in October. It's now been signed for October the 28th in Manchester. How happy are you that the rematch is on? I always felt that the rematch must happen, but I wasn't sure Liam Smith would want to do it again, but credit to him, he's agreed to it.
Yes, Neil, I don't, you know, although I don't think he was like kind of worried about me personally. I just think, you know, I suppose he could have gone. The fight ended in a bad way, which it shouldn't have. But at the end of the day, he still won the fight, so he could have moved out. So you know, credit to him for doing it again, and you know, really looking forward to it.
And do you believe the rematch is going to be a lot different to the first fight, or do you reckon it'll be quite similar in many ways?
I think it'll be very similar in a lot of ways, to be honest. I just want to backtrack as well. I've also been told that the fight ain't actually in Manchester anymore. We're looking at other options.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'm glad you corrected me there. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not totally sure where it's going to be. You know, I think them not just working on getting somewhere pinned down now, and I'm sure I'll know pretty soon.
Okay, excellent. But the 28th of October is definitely the date, right?
Yeah, that's correct, yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, I want to ask you as well, Liam, what is Liam Smith's power like? A lot of people believe he hurt you to the body a couple of times in that fight.
He didn't hurt me to the body once.
So he didn't hurt me once.
Average, you know, yeah, just average, maybe just above average, but didn't once hit me, and you know, I really felt the shot. Yeah, the only one I really felt was the headbutt.
yeah, of course. Now, I want to ask you this, actually, from your point of view. In the second half of that fight, was it Liam Smith coming on strong, or was it you slowing down a bit, or was it a bit of both?
Yeah, I'd probably say it's a bit of both, to be fair. Obviously, he's going to type of fighter. He's well built. He's got very strong legs. He's one of these forward fighters which do break most people down. But you know, I had 9 minutes to go in the fight. I would have pissed 9 minutes. I trained for this kind of stuff. So yeah, it wasn't a big shock with him coming on. You know, trying to put it on me in the last couple of rounds. But you know, there we go. That's what's happened now, and we can move on.
And going back to the Copper Box, after Gary Corcoran's fight, you and him had some kind of altercation. What actually happened there?
I don't know, mate. He's obviously he's got something wrong with him. Yeah, he got a bad dislike. He won his fight. I was having a conversation with someone. Actually, it was Dave Hill from ringside. I was chatting with Dave, and I could just hear, you know, all these swear words and call me CUNTs and all that kind of stuff. And I put my head up, and it was obviously Gary out of the ring, and then he decided to come running out the ring and got grabbed by the security guard. To be honest, it was a good job he did get grabbed by the security guard, so I would have flattened him again, prick.
We actually had Gary Corcoran on last week's show, and I asked him about the rematch coming up with yourself and Liam Smith. Now, he believes that Liam Smith's got your number now. He believes that Liam Smith will stop you in that fight. What's your response to that, Liam?
He's going to say that, and he don't like me. But as far as his comments are concerned, he's full of shit. Yeah, I'm not getting stopped by nobody.
Yeah. No, I think that's fair to say. I want to ask you about another huge fight, Liam, as well. Another big fight. We've been really asking everybody about it. It's just a fight that nobody can stop thinking about, dreaming about, talking about. Triple G and Canelo Alvarez, a brilliant fight for September. What's your take on that one, Liam?
Yeah, it's one of the best fights out there. I can't believe all the hype surrounding the Mayweather-McGregor fight. when you've got real fights like this happening. And another one is Cotto and Kamagai. That's a good fight. And it's on the same night as Mayweather, so that's going to be really overlooked, and I don't think many people are going to watch it. And it's just really bad, I think.
Yeah. Who do you reckon wins that Triple G Canelo fight, Liam?
It's tough one. I've been thinking Canelo, to be honest.
Yeah.
I just think he's got obviously Golovkin's got massive power, good footwork, cutting on the ring and whatever. I just believe Canelo's got a little bit extra. He's got very good punch variety, head movement. Upper body movement. He's very good, and he's very good on the counter and stuff as well. So I believe I'll take him through to win the fight.
Okay, fair enough. A lot of people going with that. It's nobody's quite sure of which way to go. It is really going to be a fantastic spectacle. I will go over to you with the last question, Liam. You don't have to give us one if you don't want to. I just wanted to ask if you have got one. Have you got any kind of prediction for the rematch? Now you've been in there with Liam Smith, you've pretty much, for some parts of that fight, in my eyes anyway, dominated him. What's your thoughts on the rematch? How do you reckon you win this fight if you can give a prediction?
I think I just want to come away with a win. I don't care how or what I have to do for that win. But, I can change. I don't believe Liam Smith. He's been fighting the same way for a long time. And, he's 20, what is he, 28 now maybe? He's not gonna change overnight. He's stuck in that way, and he's not changing that. So.
Yeah. Okay, my man. Well, Liam, it's always good to speak to you. Best of luck for camp, and I cannot wait to see you back in the ring come October 28th. Really looking forward to that. Thanks for giving us some time, my friend.
Yeah, thank you very much, mate. And I really look forward to it myself, and hopefully it'll be a great fight like last time. Cheers, buddy. Ta-ra.
Okay, that wraps up episode 94 of the BoxHard Podcast. I've been your host, Joey Coastman. Ayaz Sumra was not with us this week, but instead we were joined by the heavyweight world title challenger, Mr. Eddie Chambers. A big thank you to our two guests on this week's show, the hard-hitting, unbeaten big baby of the heavyweight division, Mr. Jarrell Miller, and the exciting yet down-to-earth British light middleweight champion, Mr. Liam Williams. As always, the biggest thanks of all, though, goes out to the very loyal listeners. We've attracted so many over the years, so thank you very much once again for listening to this episode. Enjoy your weekends, people, and we'll see you next week.